Good day everyone, we are Group 3 and we're going to present the Article 1206 to 1219. I am Patricia Ann Campos and now let's start with the Article 1206 or the facultative obligation. In a facultative obligation, the debtor is bound to perform a single obligation but has the option to substitute it with another. For example, if A is obliged to deliver a specific car to B but has the option to deliver a motorcycle instead, this constitutes a facultative obligation. Next is the Article 1207 or the joint and solidary obligation. In joint and solidary obligation, when multiple parties are involved as creditors or debtors in a single obligation, it is presumed to be joint unless explicitly stated as solidary in a contract, required by law, or by the nature of the obligation. For example, if X and Y jointly owe Z a 10,000 pesos, they can demand only 5,000 from each unless the obligation is expressly solidary, in which case they can demand the full 10,000 pesos from either X or Y.
Good day everyone, I am Warren Senense, and let's proceed to the Article 1208 or the Division of Obligations. It states here that if from the law or the nature or the wording of the obligations to which the preceding article refers, the contrary does not appear, the credit or debt shall be presumed to be divided into as many equal shares as there are creditors or debtors. The credits or debts being considered distinct from one another, subject to the rules of the court governing the multiplicity of suits. So in the absence of a contrary stipulation, joint obligations are divided into equal parts among the debtors or creditors. So for example, if A, B, and C are debtors to D for 30,000, each debtor is presumed to owe 10,000 unless otherwise specified. And now let's proceed to the Article 1209 or indivisible obligations with plurality of parties. So it states here that if the division is impossible, the right of the creditors may be prejudiced only by their collective acts, and the debt can be enforced only by proceeding against all the debtors. If one of the latter should be insolvent, the other shall not be liable for his share. So when an obligation is indivisible and it involves multiple parties, all debtors must act together to fulfill an obligation. If one debtor becomes insolvent, the others are not responsible for that debtor's share. So for example, if A and B are obliged to deliver an unique painting to C, both must deliver it together. And if A becomes insolvent, B is not required to compare or compensate for A's inability to perform.
Article 1210, Indivisibility and Solidarity. The indivisibility of an obligation does not necessarily give rise to solidarity, nor does solidarity of itself imply indivisibility. It means an obligation can be indivisible without being solidary, and vice versa. Indivisibility pertains to the nature of the performance, while solidarity relates to the legal relationship among parties. Example, A and B may be jointly, not solidarily, obliged to deliver a specific item, making the obligation indivisible but not solidary. Article 1211, Solidarity with different conditions. Solidarity may exist although the creditors and the debtors may not be bound in the same manner and by the same period and conditions. It means solidary obligation can exist even if parties are bound under different terms, conditions, or periods. Example, if A and B are solidary debtors to C for 20,000 and A obligation is due in 30 days, while B is due in 60 days, C can demand the full amount from either A or B at any time after 30 days. Article 1212 acts beneficial to co-creditors. Each one of the solidary creditors may do whatever may be useful to the others, but not anything which may be prejudicial to the latter. It means a solidary creditor can take action that benefit all co-creditors but cannot undertake action that would harm their interests. Example, if D, E, and F are solidary creditors of G for 15,000, D can demand the entire amount from G benefiting E and F. However, D cannot forgive the debt without E and F consent, as it would prejudice their rights.
Article 1213. A solidary creditor cannot assign his rights without the consent of the others. It means a solidary creditor must obtain the consent of all co-creditors before transferring their rights to another party. Example, if H, I, and J are solidary creditors, H cannot assign his share of the credit to K without I and J's approval. Article 1214. The debtor may pay any one of the solidary creditors, but if any demand, judicial or extrajudicial, has been made by one of them, payment should be made to him. It means a debtor can pay any of the solidary creditors unless a specific demand has been made by one, in which case payment should be made to that creditor. Article 1215. Novation, compensation, confusion, or remission of the debt made by any of the solidary creditors or with any of the solidary debtors shall extinguish the obligation without prejudice to the provision of Article 1219. It means if any solidary creditors accepts payment or there is a legal act that cancels or changes the debt, the whole obligation is extinguished. However, this cannot harm the rights of the solidary creditors. Example, if A, B, and C are solidary debtors to D for 30,000 and D forgives A's share, the whole debt is cancelled and B and C are released from paying. Article 1216. The creditor may proceed against any one of the solidary debtors or more or all of them simultaneously. The demand made against one of them shall not be an obstacle to those which may subsequently be directed against the others, so long as the debt has not been fully collected. It means a solidary creditor can choose to demand full payment from any one or all of the solidary debtors. Suing one does not prevent suing the others until the whole debt is paid. Example, if X, Y, and Z owe 60,000 to A can collect the entire 60,000 from X alone. If X cannot pay in full, A can still demand the remaining amount from Y to Z.
Chua Christian, Article 1217 to Article 1219. Article 1217, Reimbursement among solidary debtors. Payment made by one of the solidary debtors extinguish the obligation. If two or more solidary debtors have paid, those who made the payment may demand reimbursement from their co-debtors in proportion to their respective shares. If the payment is made before the debt is due, no reimbursement can be demanded until the debt becomes due. If one solidary debtor pays the entire debt, the obligation is extinguished. That debtor can later demand reimbursement from co-debtors for their share, but only when the debt is due. Example, if A, B, and C are solidary debtors for 90,000 pesos and A pays the whole amount, A can ask B and C to repay 30,000 each. If A pays before the due date, A must wait until the debt is due before asking for repayment. Article 1218, Voluntary Payment Without Demand. Payment by a solidary debtor shall not entitle him to reimbursement from his co-debtors if was made after the obligation was prescribed or if the obligation is already extinguished. If a solidary debtors pays after the prescriptive period or the time limit for legal enforcement or after the obligation is cancelled, the debtor can ask for repayment from the others. Example, if A, B, and C owe 50,000 pesos but the debt expires beyond the legal period for collection and A still pays, A cannot recover money from B or C. Lastly, Article 1219, effect of partial remission. The remission made by the creditor of the share, which affects one of the solidary debtors, does not release the later from his responsibility towards the co-debtors in case the debt had been totally paid by any one of them. If a creditor forgives the debt of one solidary debtors, that debtors is still responsible for reimbursing co-debtors if anyone else pays the entire amount. Example, if A, B, and C are solidary debtors for 90,000 pesos and the creditors forgives A's share, if B pays the entire 90,000 pesos, A still has to pay 30,000 pesos back to B. That's all for our report.